Hello, everyone. Today I'd like to talk about the Pure Moods series of albums. So, as a kid, if I recall, in the mid 90s, I'd say, there was a commercial that was trying to push this album, the very first one, Pure Moods. And if I recall, it was it was constantly on. I mean, you couldn't avoid it. I don't know if it's at late night or just on regular primetime TV, but there was commercials that had, I don't know how many, maybe it's just one, but there were the very first thing you remember is seeing Enya with Orinoco Flow, Sail Away, that song, and then Enigma's Return to Innocence. And I know those songs were huge at the time, so they were really pushing this a lot. Now, yeah, this was like one of those, like, you can only get it direct. It was like I don't think you could find them in stores, and they're asking for like $20 or something like that to buy this album. Now at that time, I was familiar with both. I mean, Enya, I knew with that song. Wasn't really a big fan of it, but I knew it was popular. And Enigma I actually knew beforehand with Sadness. I knew that album way before, uh, you know, the Return to Innocence, so forth. So, and Return to Innocence, I'm okay with. I know it's a huge hit, but I'm so with that song. I like kind of their other stuff, but they were really pushing this, and apparently it was really popular. I mean, some people I knew at the time had this or bought this album and so forth. So it wasn't until years later when the first album was at the library, right? And it said, what the heck? I looked at the track listing outside of Enigma and Enya and maybe like, a couple other artists or a couple song titles I wasn't really familiar with. So I brought this from the library and played it out, and front to back, nonstop. And after listening to the album, I had to play it again one more time, and heck, it wasn't bad at all. It's to describe Pure Moods, it's pretty much, especially the first album, it's pretty much a new age music, like new age ambient type music. New age at the time, artists like, well, I wouldn't say artists, but if you know the record label Narada, not Narada Jazz, but just Narada, it's basically that type of music. Now, what makes Pure Moods unique, besides being new age ambient type music, it's also basically world music. So it's like, I think the majority of the artists on here that they use in this compilation, are not from the States. They're just either, Western Europe, that type of thing, or all around. So it's really, and it's not just the location, the artist or who played it, but it's the style of music. There's some Indian influence, world music type influence. You know what I mean? So it it's kind of unique in that sense, and I give credit to whoever thought of this compilation and put it together. And again, when I listened to this, as when I had a chance to borrow this and listen to the whole thing, I was pretty impressed in the sense that two things. The very first thing is all the songs are pretty good. I mean, they're not like, there's not any bad filler songs or anything like that. I thought, even though there's songs that I don't even know or artists I don't know, they all flow well. They're all pretty good to listen to. There's just not one bad song on there. Second of all, for this type of music, ambient music, new age music, for me at least, it's one of those things where you listen to it, it's there, but it's kind of one of those, like, it goes one ear and comes out the other. You don't really notice it. I mean, you notice it, but it doesn't affect what you're doing. So music like this is perfect for, if you're doing homework or, something like that. I think I was using that as a kid, either doing homework, reading, and so forth. There's other music kinds of music people like to do for that, like classical music. The problem for me with classical, especially a lot of classical music, is I kind of fall asleep. So that does affect me in that sense. But this, for sure, it's not sleepy music. Maybe for some, I don't know, but for me, it's not. It's actually pretty well done. I wouldn't call it upbeat, but good enough that it won't put you to sleep. Now, what made this album great? Great in a sense, respective to the pure moods and that genre of new age music, is that for compilations, okay, especially from various artists, so it's not like a greatest hits from one artist or something like that. Compilation albums in general are just hard to do. I mean, it's hit or miss, and for me at least, it's mainly a miss, and a miss in a sense like this. You know, let me give an example. Let's say you have a compilation album of just 70s music, and it's 70s artists, hit music or something like that. A lot of the 70s compilation would it depends on your expectation. Like for 70s stuff, there's compilation albums where the majority would be like soft rock or what these days are called yacht rock. So you get that smooth kind of rock music of the 70s. But then you'll get like a few songs here and there that just don't fit that genre of soft rock or yacht rock, if you know what I mean. You'll get something like a funk song or R&B song, and they're hits for sure in their own right. And if you're just talking about compilation of 70s hits, they deserve to be in it. But from a compilation listening sequencing standpoint, it's kind of off where, you're expecting one thing. You're listening to, let's say, Seals and Crofts, America, or something like that. And all of a sudden you get, Earth, Wind, and Fire, or it just... Their hits, their compilation, it's correct from that sense. But from a sequencing standpoint of putting it all together in one album, for me, it's kind of off a bit. It's just not... that's what I'm getting at. It's like you hear something and you're supposed to just listen, something, and then you feel this song, another song, and it's just doesn't feel like it fits in it, even though technically speaking it fits, but hard to explain. It just doesn't go with the flow, right? So for something like Pure Moods, what's impressive is I don't get that feeling of a miss, like there's one song on here that's way off, or something like that shouldn't belong. Everything seems, the sequencing and the flow and everything seems kind of like perfect. It's like there's nothing that just feels off, nothing that feels like it doesn't belong. And the reason why I'm getting at is that's hard to do with just when I mention a genre, like let's say 70s. But this, we're talking about new age, ambient music from various artists that we're talking about like world music as well, right? So this is just not a particular genre. I mean, in a sense, a decade, an era, or something like that. We're talking about like, we're really branching out to not just genre, but all around the world. And that's kind of putting it together and making it smooth and doesn't feel out of place for any of these songs. It just fits this album perfectly, front to back. And that's why that really caught my attention. I just, there's not one bad song, and from you start to finish, don't do, even if you wanted to do random, you could, but from the beginning to the end, it doesn't feel out of place. Not one song feels out of place, to me at least. So that's why, looking back, I can understand why this was popular. Besides the two major hits, or two from Enigma and one from Enya. So the rest was really good. By the way, my favorite song on here is actually Sweet Lullaby by Deep Forest. Never heard of it. I think it's a French group or something that kind of made that the that composes Deep Forest. But believe it or not, I saw Deep Forest, one of their compilation albums, a while back, and I actually bought it. It was like on sale or something. I was kind of hoping, their music would. They had Sweet Lullaby on here, but also other things that I was kind of hoping they're similar. However, that I don't know. I never got into Deep Forest music. It just seems different. And Sweet Lullaby on the compilation album, not yeah, their greatest hits album. So Deep Forest's greatest hits album sounds totally different than the one here. I think the one on here is like a remix or something, and I really prefer the one on the remix. So anyway, that's just kind of an off thing. But so I just showed you not just this, but the rest. So I think I got all the Pure Moods. This is Pure Moods. The second one, the third one, the fourth one, and the last one, the fifth one. But they didn't call it number 5. It's called Celestial Celebration, something like that. Now, I did not buy this at the time when it first came out. What happened was, like, I'd like to say a year or so before the pandemic, right? I was at a garage sale, and this guy was selling CDs. I think $2 each or something like that. So I was, if I go past by a garage sale and I see CDs or something of interest, I'll just stop by and take a look. He was smart. The guy who was selling it was pretty smart, because I picked this album up, and only this album, because that's the one I know. I did look at these others. I was looking at the tracks. I didn't recognize anything, and or I didn't recognize a lot of it. So I just wanted the first one because I remember the first one was good. Smart enough to come to me and say, "Hey, why don't we do a package deal for all of these?" Right? So I'm like, okay, and then I think I got the rest for like, I don't know, $5-6 or something. So I bought all of them, kind of what the heck. At the time I didn't know this was the whole set. Now, if you're looking for Pure Moods, I think Pure Moods was really popular. That they made a lot of other moods style of music. There was like Christmas moods, if I recall, romance moods, heck, stuff from certain countries or regions. Was there like a Greek mood or Scottish mood, Italian moods? I don't know. So they made a lot of that, but just from the Pure Moods, the Pure label, I think I got them all. There's like 5 of them. So lucky me. Anyway, so when I actually got this, and I took a like just nonpartisan type of listen each album front to back, and just go from there. And pretty much disappointed. Okay, so the first one is what I expected. Again, I listened to this before. I approve. This album is excellent. Now, the second one was actually not bad. This introduced some smooth jazz elements to it. So we got artists like, I think if I recall, George Benson was on it, Breezin'. Otmar Liebert at the time. I don't know what song. I didn't bring I just brought the sleeve, sorry. But there's like 2, maybe 3 smooth jazz artists on here. And then you got the Enya again. I think Yanni's on it. Enigma probably. So it wasn't bad. I don't think it was as good as the first one, because the first one was just, again, it's the OG of all, and there's a reason why it was popular. Now, the problem with the smooth jazz, it kind of goes off the flow a bit, just slightly, of like, when I mentioned like making a compilation album, sometimes you notice a song that just kind of feels out of place. And I think the smooth, like the George Benson one, for some reason, I think it's kind of out of place. I felt like it. Maybe because I recognize it so much. Another thing too, like George Benson's "Breezin'," that's a fantastic jazz song, instrumental, period, hands down. It's one of my favorites from George Benson. The problem with that song is it's pretty much on every damn compilation album you can think of, or smooth jazz instrumental compilation. So chances are, if you ever bought a compilation album, whether smooth jazz or something like that at the time from the 90s to maybe the 2000s, chances are you're probably going to get a George Benson song in there, and it's going to be breezing. It's just one of those things. So to me, it's like over compiled, I guess. So but nonetheless, it's a great song, hands down. So to me, not just as good as the first one at all, but it's okay. It's not bad. Now I listened to the rest, 3, 4, and the Celestial number 5. Okay, it was just meh. Not only that, it's just I don't know. Sometimes it's okay. It still does the one ear and out the other. But sometimes there's something where I feel like when I do hear it, I want to like just skip the track. I mean, if I get to the point where I just want to skip the track, the compilation's not all that good. Now, I don't. Again, it's just my opinion. There might be others if you do have this or if you listen to this before and you love it, so be it. But it's just not as good as the first one. And I think the biggest problem is this: like all these albums, there's going to be an Enigma song and or an Enya song or a Yanni song or something like. There's going to be like that. And I have a feeling it's mainly because all these artists are probably under the Virgin umbrella label. This is, by the way, yeah, I think it's Virgin, but Virgin Records. So it's those same repeat artists, okay? And the problem with that, like with Enya, everyone knows Sail Away, Sail Away. But I think majority of people, casual people, listeners that they know Enya and Sail Away probably won't know her catalog or her other songs. And same with Enigma. They like Enigma, Return to Innocence, Sadness. That's the two everyone pretty much knows if you know Enigma. Even people that don't know Enigma, they probably would know those two songs. All those are the biggest hits from those artists, and they're on here, right? The very first one. This is the OG. Now the other ones, like there's the other Enya songs or Enigma songs. Enigma's okay. I'm okay with that, but Enya. Outside of Sail Away, I don't know much. Heck, I even bought her greatest hits because it was one of those like super deals. Like I think it was like $3 or something, brand new. I listened to it and Sail Away and everything else. Maybe there's one more song I knew, but it's one of those where I don't think I've ever touched that album after first listen. And if I wanted to listen to Enya, it would be on here, just one song. That's it. That's where I would listen to this. So, anyway, going back to these others again, it seems like the same artists, but weaker songs because the best songs were already on the first album, and the sequencing and so forth. And man, I'm just like and Virgin Records itself, if that's the case where they're only doing the artists that they have on under their catalog. Virgin Records is not really a big record company compared to the others, and it just it feels stale. I guess that's what it is. It just kind of feels stale. So, what I guess what I'm trying to get at is this: the pure moods, the concept of like new age ambient music, world music, as a compilation. I think it was a great idea. And the execution, especially the very first one, was perfect. I think it just created a storm. This is like a great album to listen to for that type of conceptually, new age world music type thing into one album. This is perfect, absolutely perfect. It's just that the follow up, it was a downer to me. From the third one on, is just pretty much downer. And if there was maybe a different label that was able to, or have money at least, to go and compile other artists from other labels, I think the concept will still work. I mean, there's a lot of artists world that do kind of new age music and, different parts of the world, and they're just not on Virgin. But if you're able to, put their popular songs, popular hits onto something like this, I think it will work. It's just, with Virgin, it's, they kind of basically ran out after the second second compilation and whatnot. So that's the thing. And if you're into pure moods, or if you wanted to listen to just ambient new age music for just doing work, or something that doesn't affect what you're doing, yet you know it's there, I highly, highly recommend you at least taking a listen to this. I think you'll agree. This is a very, very, I think, a perfect album for something like that. And if you do really like this, feel free to, listen to the rest. But I think this is all you need. Now, if you don't like ambient music or anything like that, new age stuff, yeah, I wouldn't recommend this at all. But anyway, I just wish they were able to kind of, the Virgin label was able to kind of like expand out from their label zone, because there's so many great artists that do instrumentals and like moody type music, that it would be great in a compilation like this, hands down. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. So hope you enjoyed it, and talk to you next time. Bye.